Bhagavate Narayanam Namaskritya Nararupe Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Jayate Nashtapraya Shivatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Nashtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Prabhupada Lilamrita by Srila Goswami, I think it's chapter 42nd to 43rd. Prabhupada is in, Prabhupada was in Mayapur, but now he's in Calcutta. While in Calcutta, before going to Mayapur, Prabhupada had called several senior disciples into his room. I have had many requests, he had said to them, to translate Chaitanya Bhagavat, but I am going to translate the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita. Is that all right? Oh yes, Prabhupada, Bhavananda Goswami had replied. That's wonderful. Now, can we even imagine the court cases going on in Bombay, Mayapur construction is going on, Vrindavan construction going on, all over the world, devotees have issues, temples, preaching going on. And now he wants to translate Chaitanya Charitamrita, entire Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is beyond imagination. Decades ago, Prabhupada had written essays based on the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and over the years he had translated some of the verses and written purports to them. Then in America in 1968, he had completed Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, a summary study based on certain important passages of Chaitanya Charitamrita. During his stay in Mayapur, however, he began anew a translation and commentary of Krishnadas Kaviraj's Chaitanya Charitamrita, beginning with the 7th chapter. As he progressed, he found a wonderful momentum and said he would publish a volume starting with chapter 7 for Lord Chaitanya's appearance day in March. Deciding to complete the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita, he suspended his work on Srimad Bhagavatam. So he was translating Bhagavatam, but now he wanted to complete Chaitanya Charitamrita. And why Chaitanya Charitamrita? There are Chaitanya Mangal, Chaitanya Bhagavat, but Chaitanya Charitamrita has more philosophy than just the pastimes. So he wanted to give that philosophy. He wanted to establish the position of Lord Chaitanya and wanted to give the philosophy. In one of the first verses of the 7th chapter, Krishnadas Kaviraj states, "Let me offer my obeisances to Lord Shri Krishna, who has manifested himself in 5 as a devotee, expansion of a devotee, incarnation of a devotee, pure devotee, and devotional energy." So that is Panch Tattva. Prabhupada wrote that the only way for people to be elevated in love of Krishna in the age of Kali is by the mercy of the Panch Tattva, or Lord Chaitanya in his form of 5 personalities. So not only Lord Chaitanya, Panch Tattva. Prabhupada stressed that, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also stressed that. So in this age of Kali, people will be elevated by the mercy of Panch Tattva. And that is why, of course, we have temple in Mayapur where we have installed now Panch Tattva deities. But in our every temple, the deity of Gaur-Nitai is there, yes, great. But this is essential to have the picture of Panch Tattva. Because the love of Krishna is given by the mercy of Panch Tattva. Not only Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This point we have to understand. Panch Tattva has to be there. One should offer obeisances to Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by chanting the Panch Tattva mantra. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. So Shri Krishna Chaitanya, the Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar Pandit, and Shrivas Thakur. So all together, And it is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, they came and they broke open the floodgates of Krishna Prema and just allowed everybody to freely have it. Of course, they like Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar Pandit, Nityananda Prabhu, Srivas Thakur, they're not going to act independently away from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but they all together. So we need the mercy of all of them. This mantra should be recited before one chants the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. There are 10 offenses in chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Prabhupada wrote. But these are not considered in the chanting of the Panch Tattva Maha Mantra. Very important. One must first take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, learn the Panch Tattva Maha Mantra, and then chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Then we are okay. Verse after verse of the 7th chapter confirmed the essential principles of Srila Prabhupada's mission and attested that he was teaching exactly after the method advised by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The characteristics of Krishna are understood to be a storehouse of transcendental love. Although that storehouse of love certainly came with Krishna when he was present, it was sealed. But when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came with his other associates, the Panchtattva, they broke the seal and plundered the storehouse to taste transcendental love of Krishna. The more they tasted it, the more their thirst for it grew. Sri Panchtattva themselves danced again and thus made it easier to drink nectarian love of Godhead. They danced, cried, laughed, and chanted like madmen. And in this way, they distributed love of Godhead. This distribution was important. Not just taste, they themselves tasted and enjoyed. They distributed it and distributed it freely. In commenting on these verses, Prabhupada wrote, the present Krishna consciousness movement follows the same principle, and therefore, simply by chanting and dancing, we have received good responses all over the world. It is to be understood, however, that this chanting and dancing do not belong to this material world. They are actually transcendental activities. For the more one engages in chanting and dancing, the more he can taste the nectar of transcendental love of Godhead. So the more one engages in chanting and dancing, the more he can taste the nectar of transcendental love of Godhead. So this is the relationship. It's not that to get Krishna Prem, we have to do something else. Of course, once we have Krishna Prem, or once we start tasting it, it's not like black and white thing. One day we don't have, and next day we no. It's a gray area. We start developing, we start tasting it, and then we enjoy our chanting and dancing and other services. And then the more we start tasting and the taste grows, and the more taste for service also grows. So that's how we grow. By the phrase Krishna consciousness movement, Prabhupada spoke not only of his own disciples and his Krishna consciousness society, but also of the movement inaugurated by Lord Chaitanya. Just as the original personality of Godhead and the deity of Krishna in the temple were the same, so the movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Prabhupada's Krishna consciousness movement were identical. So they are identical. In distributing love of Godhead, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates did not consider who was a fit candidate and who was not, nor where such distribution should or should not take place. They made no conditions. Wherever they got the opportunity, the members of the Panchtattva distributed love of Godhead. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although he had some restrictions, but Nityananda Prabhu, when he came, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you have to have faith in Krishna. Nityananda Prabhu just opened it freely. Everybody take it. He ran after people to take it. Mahaprabhu was like, you come to me and I'll give it. Nityananda Prabhu ran after. Like people like Jagai, Madhai, and so many dacoits. thieves, everybody. He gave it freely. Nityanand Prabhu and Panchtattva, they only preached in Odisha and Bengal. They only gave love of Godhead to people of Odisha and Bengal. But then came six Goswamis. They were ordered to go to Vrindavan and give this, write books about it and give it to everybody. But they also did a lot, but only in a limited area. Then came other acharyas, Narottam Das Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baldev Vidyabhushan, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and other acharyas. They also gave it freely. Bhaktivinoda Thakur afterwards. Afterward, there was some lull period. Then came Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So he started the movement. He is actually the uh, father of the modern day preaching. So he wrote books and he went home to home. He started Namhatta. He started giving it out, letting people know about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. But he also had restrictions. So he asked Lord Jagannath, send me somebody who can preach this message far and wide. Lord Jagannath gave him Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur as a son. Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj went all over India. He had 64 Gaudiya Maths established all over India. Of course, he wanted to uh, preach vigorously in South India to defeat this Mayavad philosophy. But he also did to a certain extent. But then came Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, he took this message, he distributed it all over the world. Not just in India, not just in Odisha and Bengal, not just in North India, all over the world. Nobody did that before. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is written, one of my Senapati Bhakta will come and will take this message all over the world. So, Senapati Bhakta, general, great general devotee. We don't know what's Prabhupada's position in spiritual world is. We can understand. He's very, very close to Mahaprabhu, very, very close to Radha and Krishna, whoever he is. And then he took it all over the world. Nityanand Prabhu was merciful, yes, to people of Odisha and Bengal. Prabhupada went after hippies and those even outside Varnashram Dharma and gave them free. And all he said, just chant and dance. I mean, of course, we have to do many other services. And look at the devotees, how they're serving Prabhupada, leaving all their facilities and comfortable situation in America and Europe and just with Prabhupada, living in mosquito-infested places, rats in Bombay and Mayapur, no proper facility to even stay. But just to serve Prabhupada, they were with him and took all the risks also. We'll read more later. For Srila Prabhupada, this verse directly confirmed the instruction he had received from his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, that people of all births could become Vaishnavas, Brahmins, and Sannyasis. Here was direct evidence from the scripture. Yet Prabhupada, like his own spiritual master, had often received criticism from the caste-conscious Brahmins of India. With the proof in hand, Prabhupada now challenged his envious critics. Panchtattva gave it freely, so where is the harm if Prabhupada is giving it? There are some rascals who dare to speak against the mission of Lord Chaitanya by criticizing the Christian consciousness movement for accepting Europeans and Americans as Brahmins and offering them sannyas. But here is an authoritative statement that in distributing love of Godhead, one should not consider whether the recipients are Europeans, Americans, Hindus, Muslims, etc. The Krishna consciousness movement should be spread wherever possible, and one should accept those who thus become Vaishnavas as being greater than Brahmins, Hindus, or Indians. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu desired that his name be spread in each and every town and village on the surface of the globe. Therefore, when the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is spread all over the world, should those who embrace it not be accepted as Vaishnavas, Brahmins, and Sannyasis? These foolish arguments are sometimes raised by envious rascals, but Krishna conscious devotees do not care about them. They strictly follow the principles set down by the Panch Tattva. So this was Prabhupada's conviction, and he established it. And not just Americans and Europeans, Chinese, Japanese, Russians. Look at Russia. So many devotees are there. Another criticism Srila Prabhupada encountered was that his emphasis on proselytizing was actually alien to Indian spirituality. Even Prabhupada's god brothers had occasionally made such remarks. More often, however, this sentiment came from the impersonalists who argued that people should be left to conceive of religion in their own ways. Religion, being an internal spiritual affair, should not be propagated by zealous evangelism. Preaching and conversion, they said, were for the Christians, not for the followers of Indian religion. In the 7th chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, however, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, reveals his heart and emotion as the ideal preacher. So this is also Krishna's desire also. In Bhagavad Gita, he says, those who give out this message to other devotees is most dear to me. And Mahaprabhu definitely came for preaching, Sankirtan and preaching. So preaching means we preach to others, tell them about Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, about devotional service, about ourselves also, who we are, not this body. So unless until this knowledge is given out, how are people going to understand what is real religion? So in Christian religion, now it has gone down a lot. Some sects still preach a lot, like Jehovah's Witnesses or some others, but generally they don't preach now. Earlier years, of course. In Islam, they don't preach at all. Their way of convincing others is very different. Buddhism, if you go to Buddhist temple, they might teach some philosophy, but otherwise no heavy preaching. And similarly others. It's only Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers, especially ISKCON. Gaudiya Math also preaches, but not as much as ISKCON does. They really take up preaching, book distribution, preaching, because this pleases Srila Prabhupada a lot. And it's not like Prabhupada has made something whimsical, said something whimsical. No, this is what the mood and mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So preaching has to go. Many times we also get criticized. Why you're distributing Bhagavad Gita like this on the streets? And some Sikh members, because they respect their Guru Granth Sahib a lot, no doubt about it. So I was told, we were wearing shoes and when we were distributing Bhagavad Gita, shoes or chappal, and they're like, how can you wear this holding Bhagavad Gita in hand? And in Guru Granth Sahib, we don't even wear shoes when we are holding Guru Granth Sahib. I said, no doubt, it's very respectful. That's very nice sentiment. But our order is to go out and preach and distribute as many Bhagavad Gitas and other books as possible. I said, you don't distribute Guru Granth Sahib like we do. So there is a difference. And moreover, sentiments are good. But then again, I mean, if I'm standing bare feet on a hot road and trying to just give Bhagavad Gita, and they also complain, why do you give Bhagavad Gita out? Why are you selling? Let people buy it and read it. Well, first of all, this is not how Srila Prabhupada established it. And then secondly, how many books people will come and expect from me if I'm just standing bare feet? They're not going to come and take it. I have to run after them. And there's so many devotees. I mean, I didn't do running after. I mean, we would set up a book table, but there are devotees that go on the road, they're running after cars and people and distributing Gitas. Hats off to them, no doubt. And moreover, how many people will come to the temple and on their own buy Bhagavad Gita? Hardly. Devotees go out and somehow or other try to convince them to buy a copy of Bhagavad Gita, and then there are classes going on for people to understand Bhagavad Gita, follow the teachings and take up the process. That is preaching. Nobody's forcing here anybody. We are not giving away money that people become members of Krishna consciousness movement, or we are not putting a sword on their neck, either chant or die. No, no such thing. Because love of Godhead is not attained forcibly. It's attained voluntarily. It has to come from within. Once somebody is convinced, then take up the process and slowly make progress. So, but that happens with preaching. And preaching also, time, place, circumstance, we have to see. And then the person we are preaching to, we have to see at what level he is or she is at. And we preach accordingly. And there are so many other details also. But this has to go on. And this was the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. He also said, Nityanand Prabhu Haridas Thakur, to go out and preach, make a team and go and preach and give me report every day. So this is all authorized, all bona fide, whatever Prabhupada established. The flood of love of God had swelled in all directions, and thus young men, old men, women, children were all immersed in that inundation. The Krishna consciousness movement will inundate the entire world and drown everyone, whether one be a gentleman, a rogue, or even lame, invalid, or blind. When the first 5 members of the Panchtattva saw the entire world drowned in love of Godhead and the seed of material enjoyment in the living entities completely destroyed, they all became exceedingly happy. The more the 5 members of the Panchtattva caused the rains of love of Godhead to fall, the more the inundation increased and spread all over the world. This was Srila Prabhupada's spirit in training young men and women in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And he was offering these words of Lord Chaitanya to strengthen all the Lord's devotees. The members of the Krishna Consciousness movement should be confident that by preaching purely they would meet with success. Prabhupada was confident. Here were the words of Shastra, words spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada's personal experience confirmed the same. Thus he could write. Our Krishna consciousness movement was started single-handedly, and no one provided for our livelihood. But at present, we are spending hundreds and thousands of dollars all over the world, and the movement is increasing more and more. Although jealous persons may be envious, if we stick to our principles and follow the footsteps of the Panchtattva, this movement will go on unchecked by imitation, swamis, sannyasis, religionists, philosophers, or scientists, for it is transcendental to all material considerations. Therefore, those who propagate the Krishna consciousness movement should not be afraid of such rascals, fools. Only Prabhupada could use this this language, these terms, rascals and fools. One side is saying they're swamis, sannyasis, philosophers, scientists, but on the other hand, he's saying, calling them rascals and fools. And some journalist once asked, why, Swamiji, why do you call them rascals and fools? This is so degrading. Prabhupada said, I don't. It's Krishna who said that. Uh, those are Buddhas who don't surrender unto me. And Buddha means fools and rascals. The verses of the seventh chapter describe a worldwide inundation of Krishna consciousness. Thus, the objections that Europeans and Americans could not become Brahmins or sannyasis would be swept away as Lord Chaitanya's mercy flooded the entire world. Nothing could check it. So nothing could check it. So this is the mood of Mahaprabhu, and this was the very much mood of Srila Prabhupada. The words of Krishnadas Kaviraj intensified Prabhupada's desire to base his worldwide movement in the land where Lord Chaitanya appeared and began his Sankirtan movement. The Panch Tattva had begun in Navadvip, and from here the waves of love of Godhead were swelling outward. In Sridham Mayapur, there is sometimes a great flood after the rainy season. This is an indication that from the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya, the inundation of love of Godhead should spread all over the world, for this will help everyone, including old men, young men, women, and children. The Krishna consciousness movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so powerful that it can inundate the entire world and interest all classes of men in the subject of love of Godhead. Another thing, yes, six Goswamis and the Acharyas, they've given books, but they were accessible only for certain people, not for everybody. Living in North India, did we even ever hear about this term, love of Godhead, Krishna Prem? No. We all went to the temples whenever we wanted, and did some puja, had some prashadam, and then came out. Had some prashadam was only bundi or barfi, right? Didn't know anything. Who's God, who are demigods, what is love of Godhead, who am I? I have no idea. Didn't even know about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, never heard of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Till we read Srila Prabhupada's books. Of course, some of you might have heard of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but I had never. It's all given by Prabhupada through his books, through his disciples, through his movement. And now everybody, I mean, at least in ISKCON, we talk about love of God and Krishna Prem. Never even heard of these terms before. In this seventh chapter of the Adi Leela, Prabhupada found many other evidences authorizing ISKCON under the principles of Lord Chaitanya's teachings and activities. Krishnadas Kaviraj says that Lord Chaitanya's taking sannyas was a trick for delivering certain classes of society who would otherwise not have shown him respect. Prabhupada in his commentary explained that he also had devised a scheme for offering the benefit of Krishna consciousness to as wide a spectrum of society as possible. And he cited his acceptance of women into the Krishna consciousness movement. Therefore, it's a principle, he wrote, that a preacher must strictly follow the rules and regulations laid down in the Shastra, yet at the same time devise a means by which the preaching work to reclaim the fallen may go on with full force. So some means, methods Prabhupada adopted, which basically to take this movement further, to give this knowledge to people all over the world. And he saw how women were trained in America and Europe, so he had to devise accordingly. So anyway, we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Nice class, Guruji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mata.
Hare
Chalo, you have
Krishna.
a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Jai Shri Prabhupada.